evening, race fans, and welcome to another race here at Bristol Motor Speedway with the Old Bastard Racing League for the Metro Ford Cup Series. This is going to be the last race for this round of the playoffs here. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you today's action in 1080p, 60 frames a second. I hope you all are excited for today's race as much as I am. Bristol is always an excellent track to come and watch. These guys race around the track, and it's good to be here with the Old Bastards Racing League. These guys are an excellent bunch of drivers, and I look forward to the action here today. Now, before we get started, just a quick shout out to Metro Ford for putting on today's race and bringing myself on. It's always great being here in the booth, commentating for an excellent bunch of drivers as these guys get ready to take on their lone qualifying. We're going to get on board here with Brian Lindsay in the number 24 machine. Now, one thing I would like to point out before we get started today, I do not have the I guess you would say the playoff drivers for the tower. That's not something I unfortunately was set up with before today's race, but that's all right. The drivers that we're going to be looking out for today that are going to be key for being able to qualify for the next round of playoff races here are the drivers that have the yellow banners in their windshield. Now, another couple drivers that have already advanced with wins are the number 97 machine of Dwayne MacArthur, as well as the number 23 machine of Josh Robinson. So, a lot of these guys here that have not either put down enough points or are sort of on that bubble to get into the next round of the playoffs. We're going to see a lot of, I think, competitive driving from those guys. And here's one of those drivers, Dakota Pischke, in the number 1 machine. And tonight we are also running a double pit road as well here at Bristol. So it's going to make things a little bit interesting as we have drivers pitting on both sides of the track now instead of just one, which might make things a little bit easier, might make things a little bit worse. We'll see. As we take a look at Jess Vaught and then number 10 machine make his way around the track now to make his qualifying. And as you can see here in the tower as well, Josh Thompson is going to be the man on top. Steve Thompson in the number 67 machine. He's going to be our leader so far in qualifying, setting a 15:01 for his best time around the track, with Dwayne MacArthur in the number 97 machine. A man who has already got himself into the next round of the playoffs. We're going to take a look now at Gary Kipfer in the number 68 machine. He's currently 3rd in qualifying right now, doing an excellent job. And that Reese-sponsored machine getting a little bit up into the wall there, just a little bit. That's all right. Some of these drivers here, they're going to want to kind of put on the best time that they possibly can. Some drivers might be a little bit more strategic and want to maybe not set on the best time that they can put on. But it also depends on the driver that you are and what your plan is for a race like this here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So we hop on board here with Patrick Milligan in the number 18 machine. That Interstate Batteries sponsored machine. He's going to set himself third in qualifying. With a 15.14 as his best time. This track is always interesting to see as well. It's one of my favorites, as well as many others. With how unique the track is laid out, 1 and 2, turns 1 and 2 being just slightly different than 3 and 4, excuse me. It makes the lines just a little bit different, and making that consistently can be a little bit tricky, especially when you have other drivers in your way. And having to work around that traffic can get a little interesting sometimes. But these guys are very experienced drivers here. And I fully expect to see a lot of excellent and solid racing here tonight. Or today, rather. Talking a little bit as well about the manufacturer points here for this series. Currently, Toyota is in the lead with 1,070 points. Chevy very close behind with 1,052 points. And Ford following last with 945 points. So, hopefully we see a couple Ford drivers have a lucky race here today and finish out in front. Maybe get a few more points for that Ford team. Looking on board here with Chris Scales in the number 8 machine. That Mandalorian sponsored scheme there. Looks great. This is another driver here that is going to be on the chase in points or in wins to be able to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Scales is going to put down a time of 15.44. Not going to be quite in the top 10. Being 17th currently. He's going to have his work cut out for him, but if he can have a good, clean race, that's all that matters. So we jump on board here with Randy Bott, the number 69 machine. Currently his best time is a 15.5. He's going to be 20th right now in qualifying. This isn't a driver that's going to be on the chase for the next round of the playoffs, but I think Randy Bott here is going to have a fun race tonight. Bristol is, as I've said already plenty of times, it's always a great track to race at, and it's always a great track to watch. As Randy continues to try and close that gap, close that lap time that he's set for himself. Doing a very good job of staying consistent, staying clean. So we jump on board here with Brian Glass in the number 87 machine. He's going to be currently 8th in qualifying, setting a time of 15.17 as his best time. 15.28 on his last time around the track. He's going to head into pit road now, as I think that's a pretty good time to set there, Brian. Looking on board here with Josh Robertson now in the number 23 machine. He has not set down a time yet, so we're going to see what he can do here and pull off. So he jumps his way all the way up to 5th with a time of 15.14 as his best time. He's going to make another lap around the track and see what he can do again. Maybe even get it slightly better of a time. Not able to quite pull it off as he sets a 15.28 on that lap around. And that's going to wrap up our qualifying. Our grid for today, Steve Thompson is going to be leading first, with Dwayne MacArthur in second, Tom Ogle in third, Patrick Milligan in fourth, Josh Robertson in fifth, Greg McDaniel in sixth, Gary Kipfer in seventh, Joe Brown in eighth, Brian Glass in ninth, Jess Vaught in 10th, Andrew Hess in 11th, Dakota Pischke in 12th, Mike Schrader in 13th, Henry Besaw in 14th, Todd Bosworth in 15th, Kelly Kuehl in 16th, Brian Lindsay in 17th, Michael Everhart in 18th, Dean Greer in 19th, Brian Lynch in 20th, Chris Scales in 21st, Robert Crisco in 22nd, Randy Bott 23rd, Dodd Hoskins in 24th, Roger Runyon in 25th, Clint Rice in 26th, Bruce Pearson in 27th, Dale Copeland in 28th, and last but not least, John Hastings in 29th. That is going to be our grid for today's race here at Bristol Motor Speedway for the Old Bastards Racing League Metro Ford Cup Series. As the pace car leads the field and these drivers get ready to start their race here today with 300 laps. A lot of great action that we're going to see tonight. You can see a lot of our playoff drivers in the front of the field here already. These are going to be our drivers that we are going to be paying very close attention here to tonight, or today rather. Dwayne MacArthur, Steve Thompson, Patrick Milligan, Tom Ogle in your screen right now. Greg McDaniel, Josh Robertson. A beautiful field of cars here today on this Sunday morning for the Old Bastards Racing League Metro Ford Cup Series. A lot of great talent here. We're going to see a lot of great racing as our pace car heads into pit road. And our drivers pass the checkered line and we take off. Green flag is out. The number 97 machine of Dwayne MacArthur is going to take that low line around the rest of the front of the field here. Going to be leading now with Tom Ogle and Steve Thompson following single file behind him as Tom Ogle tries to take that low line around the number 97 machine. It almost works out for him. He's got the speed. He's going to try it again here in turns 3 and 4. It's going to work out for him now as Dwayne MacArthur is now going to be second behind Tom Ogle in that number 11 machine, who's now going to be leading the field now for a few laps, as Steve Thompson in that number 67 machine is still third, trying to catch his way back up to the front of the field. He's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Dwayne MacArthur in that number 97 machine. He's got about a half a second gap. So he's going to have to stay consistent here and try and push that car a little bit faster if he wants to catch up anytime soon. But right now he's doing all right, but he's going to have a little bit of competition coming up on his tail as Patrick Milligan in that number 18 machine is now going to be closing in on that number 67 of Steve Thompson, trying to get on that bumper as quickly as he possibly can. He's got a little bit of draft support almost from that number 30 machine of Greg Daniel, who is also on the hunt to be in the front of the field as well, with Patrick Milligan, Josh Robertson in the 23 machine going to be trying to get on the door of that 30 of Greg McDaniel, taking that low line, Greg taking that middle line, doing a very excellent job trying to hold where they are. We also see on our screen the number 21 machine of Joe Brown slowly closing in on these guys here. Not quite in the front, but close enough that it's any position matters at this point. And these drivers are doing a very excellent job of staying clean and staying green, as we are on lap 10 now of 300. Taking a look back here, all the way in the front of the field with Tom Ogle, who is still leading first, up 2 positions from where he started. He's got nearly a second gap between himself and second place, Dwayne MacArthur, in the number 97 machine. Tom's definitely feeling very comfortable right now. He is a driver that we are looking to see make it into the next round of the playoffs. And I think he'll be able to pull that off here, but there's still a long race left to go here. Lap 12 of 300. The name of the game is going to be consistency and making sure that you hit that pit window almost perfectly. Dwayne MacArthur in the number 97 machine, still trying his best to try and catch up to Tom Ogle. He's got clean air though. He doesn't have anything to really worry about as far as competition behind him. So he's going to be comfortable as well, but right now his goal is to catch up to Tom Ogle and put pressure on that number 11 machine and try and retake that first spot. But tire wear is going to be on these guys' mind, as it's very easy to push these cars very aggressively. But the more you do that, the more loose that your car is going to feel after some time. But looking at just a little bit further back, Steve Thompson on that number 67 machine in third with Brian Glass in the number 87 machine on his bumper. Nice check up there from the number 87 of Brian Glass, almost getting into the rear of Steve Thompson. Brian's going to take that low line, try and get around the number 67 machine. He just doesn't quite have enough speed, but if he sticks with it and keeps it going, he might be able to pull it off here and make it happen. But Steve Thompson doing an excellent job of trying to stay out in front of Brian Glass, not letting him get around, maintaining his line, maintaining good speed. And that high line here at Bristol seems to be a preferred one for faster drivers that want to maintain that speed going out of these turns and accelerating into the straightaway. It's going to be key here for these long stints in a race like this. Brian Glass absolutely trying his best to try and get around Steve Thompson, but now he's going to have to be worried about Josh Robertson in that number 23 machine, who's starting to close in ever so slowly behind Brian Glass. Josh Robertson also doing the same as almost everyone else we see here, taking a wide look here at the field. You see most of the drivers preferring that middle to high line, and a couple drivers taking that low line, only typically for overtakes, it seems. But everyone here wants to go fast, wants to be leading the field. And so far, excellent racing. Lap 24 of 300 for the Metro Ford Cup Series. The last round of this, for the last race of this round of the playoffs, excuse me. Twisting my words a little. We're coming back down on the field. We have a little bit of a battle for 5th place with Patrick Milligan and Brian Glass. And that number 18 machine is going to be Patrick Milligan. He's going to be successful in getting around Brian Glass there. But can he hold on to that spot? It looks like he'll be able to, as he's now got just a little bit of a gap there. But Brian Glass, as we've seen, he's a fast driver. Can he catch up and retake that spot, or is he going to be playing the entire saving game, not wanting to push that car too aggressively too early? That is definitely a possibility here. As I've said already, this is going to be a long race, so these drivers have to consider that they cannot be too aggressive for too long. So where they decide to start to push that car as hard as they can, well, that's purely strategy at that point. As we see Greg McDaniel, another playoff driver, potential, that number 30 machine. Greg McDaniel making his way around Brian Glass and Joe Brown as well in the number 21 machine, who seemed to have worked his way up to the pack as well. Greg McDaniel now on a hunt to Patrick Milligan in that number 18 machine. But Patrick Milligan has given himself quite the gap with nearly a second, little over a second. So Greg McDaniel's going to have his work cut out for him, but Joe Brown is going to be on his tail. We might have a little bit of bump draft support from that 21 machine. But if I'm Greg Daniel, I'm not going to want to give up that spot that I have. Currently 6th place. He's got a lot of time to catch up to that number 18 machine of Patrick Milligan, who is currently 5th. So if he's able to pull that off and stay clean and stay consistent here, he's going to be fairly comfortable where he's at and trying to push himself just a little bit harder today to find himself in possibly the top 5. Looking back here just a little bit in the front of the field with Josh Robertson in that number 4, or in the 4th spot currently in the number 23 machine, with Steve Thompson in the 67 in front of him. Patrick Milligan in tow. Josh Robertson is trying his hardest, taking that low line where he can to try and get around Steve Thompson in the 67. Steve Thompson's holding his speed quite well. Again, taking that high line. He's able to keep his speed going out of these turns into the straightaway. It's working out very well for Steve Thompson right now. But Josh Robertson has his work cut out for him, trying to take that low line. He's able to pull it off here as we actually have a caution come out onto the field, which will be our first caution of tonight. Let's see if we can get a replay of that and check that out. The number 10 machine there. The 108 of Clint Reist involved in that. As well as Jess Vaught in that number 10 machine. Quite a few drivers involved in that. But that was quite the run that we had here. Lap 41 of 300 before our first caution came out onto the track. We have quite a few drivers coming into pit road. Some drivers grabbing some tires, as well as some fuel, just to top off for this next portion of the race. But just touching a little bit on where our predicted pit window was before this caution came out. It was going to be around 135 to 165, and that still might be the case here. It might be a little bit later. I would say now that some drivers have gained some fuel here, got some tires, that might extend it. We're on lap 42 currently. I wouldn't say it would extend it by much, maybe 20 laps. So we might see some drivers pit a little bit later, around lap 180 or so. I could be wrong in that. We'll see. These drivers are going to get themselves re-racked and ready to go here. Again, following behind the pace car here. With Tom Ogle, Dwayne MacArthur here in our view currently. So far here today at Bristol, it has been an excellent race. These drivers have done a superb job of keeping it clean and green here. The lights are off on the pace car. It's going to be our last time around the track here as we get ready for that pace car to head back into pit road and let these drivers have at it one more time. Alright, our pace car is in. So these drivers get ready for that green flag to come out and cross the checkered line. There they go. Tom Ogle is going to be leading the field now once again with Steve Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur almost door to door. Josh Robertson getting in on some of that action as well. Josh Robertson going to be side by side there with the number 97 machine of Dwayne MacArthur. Tom Ogle still dominating the lead. Currently, Steve Thompson trying to duke it out with Josh Robertson for that number 2 spot. Currently, Josh Robertson going to be taking that low line as Steve Thompson takes that middle line there. And we already have another caution out on the field. Let's see what happened with that. Riding on board here with Michael Everhart in the number 17 machine. Number 92 there. Of Dean Greer involved in that one. Let's see if we can take one more look at that from Dean Greer's perspective, see what happened. Looks like he just slightly got into the wall there a little bit and collected a handful of other drivers in that as well. Hate to see that happen. The number 71 machine looks like he just barely made out of that one all right. A few other drivers as well just making it out of that one all right. But a few other drivers not so lucky. As we enter our second caution here, lap 48 of 300. As we get ready for that pace car to head back into pit road. The lights are still on, so we're still waiting just a little bit longer, but drivers are getting themselves ready to go once again here, getting lined back up where they need to be. Tom Ogle, Josh Robertson, Steve Thompson going to be leading the field here today once again for this green flag drop, which has been quite the interesting battle to see here between especially Josh Robertson, Steve Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur, Greg McDaniel, Patrick Milligan. All of these drivers have done an excellent job here, all of them of which are drivers that we're expecting to see make it into the next round of the playoffs. There are still 10 spots available to be had for that round, from what I've been told. So of the drivers here with these yellow banners, only 10 of which will make it into the next round of the playoffs. The lights are out on the pace car. These drivers go double file again here for our restart. And our pace car heads back in as we await the green flag. And away we go. Tom Ogle once again taking a lead on the rest of the field here with Josh Robertson. Actually getting out in front of Steve Thompson, doing an excellent job of doing so, trying now to get on the bumper of Tom Ogle. A very fast driver indeed here, Josh Robertson in that 23 machine. He's actually going to lose quite a bit of pace here from Tom Ogle as Tom gets nearly a half a second of a gap from the rest of the field. Josh Robertson now only going to have to worry about Steve Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur, who are single file in their own little pack here, but they have quite another field of drivers behind them, with Patrick Milligan currently in 5th, slowly working his way up to Dwayne MacArthur and Steve Thompson, who are 4th and 3rd. But Dwayne MacArthur in that 97 trying his absolute hardest to get around Steve Thompson there in that yellow 67 machine. But he just doesn't quite have enough speed, it seems, to make it happen, make a pass. But again, some drivers here are potentially going to be playing the tire-saving game, wanting to make sure that they have the fuel and the tires to make it through the rest of this race. But we still have that pit window that we're expecting to see drivers come into pit road and get another set of tires and some fuel. So it's hard to say who's going to do what and when, but that could make or break a driver's race here tonight, especially for the last race of the playoffs. This round of the playoffs, excuse me. As we see an excellent pass on our screen, Patrick Milligan getting around the number 4 machine of Mike Schrader. They're going to be side by side there, making their way around the track, doing an excellent job of giving each other room. But Patrick Milligan on a mission to try and get his way up to the front of the field here. He's got quite a bit of speed in that number 18 machine. Getting on the door there of that number 67 of Steve Thompson, as he now gets just slightly in front of that number 67 machine. But will he be able to hold that speed going into the straightaway? He's able to, as he's going to take that middle line. Steve Thompson going high. Steve Thompson does not want to give up that 4 spot. He's trying his best to get that back. Dwayne MacArthur, who's in front of him, or in front of these guys, Can see all the action behind him in his rear view mirror and is probably thinking to himself, oh boy, do I got some competition headed my way? Because these guys are doing their best to try and take spots where they can and doing an excellent job of it as well. Some excellent racing that we're seeing from these guys here today. So we take a wider look here at the field, get a bigger picture of what these guys are doing. You can see Steve Thompson, or Dwayne MacArthur actually, all the way on the right of your screen there at the top in that red 97 machine with Steve Thompson in the yellow, and the 67 with Patrick Milligan, Mike Schrader, Andrew Hess, Joe Brown and Greg McDaniel side by side there, and a whole list of other drivers. But all doing a very excellent job of maintaining their line. Currently, there are not a whole lot of lap drivers. It's, I would say, about half the field. Almost half the field at this point that has been lapped by the rest of the front of the field here. Dean Greer is currently going to be the last driver who has not been lapped yet. But he's got quite the gap to close before he's anywhere near the rest of the field here. He's going to be nearly 6 seconds from 15th position, who's Robert Crisco in the number 28 machine. But taking a look at the number 92 machine, it is not looking too good right now. That front end is not looking great. The rear end is also looking quite damaged. Dean Greer is probably not having the race that he wants to have here today, but he's not a playoff driver. He's not someone that's probably working to be in the next round of the playoffs, so he's not too worried about it. He's still racing, having fun. Always good to see, even though you're not having quite the race that you probably want to have. But Dean Greer doing an excellent job, just trying to stay out in the lead lap with everyone else, considering the damage that he has to that number 92 machine. Got to give credit to where credit is due. Excellent job to Dean Greer for just holding out with it. Hopefully he'll be able to get some of that damage repaired just little by little, but he's not going to have enough time here today rather, to be able to make that make any full repairs to his car. But looking back at the front of the field, we have Tom Ogle, who is actually slowly closing in on Dean Greer in that number 16 machine. He's going to have Dean as lap traffic here very shortly, as Tom has got quite the gap from himself and the rest of the field. Tom is leading Josh Robertson with nearly a 2.5 second gap. So he's feeling quite comfortable right now. We're on lap 76 of 300. Getting relatively close to that halfway mark. Still got a ways to go. And a lot of these drivers that we saw enter into pit lane, they all entered around lap 40, some a little bit later. So these guys are going to have pretty decent tires at this point, pretty decent fuel. So as I said, I'm thinking that we're going to see these guys pit just a little bit later than we might have predicted. And that's only because of that first caution that we saw come out. I think drivers took advantage of that just to get some fresh Goodyears and a little top off on fuel, just to prolong their stint just a little bit. And I think it's working out for a lot of these guys here, especially Tom Ogle, who is still leading first with a 3-second gap to Josh Robertson. Josh Robertson in that number 23 machine. He's also got a gap himself from the rest of the field. It's going to be nearly 3 seconds of a gap as well to Dwayne MacArthur, who is third in the number 97 machine. So we're starting to see a lot of these drivers start to get into lap traffic here. Lap traffic taking the low line, being respectful, staying out of these guys' way. But looking back here at Dwayne MacArthur in that number 97 machine, and as I said, lap traffic starting to become more of a relevant thing for a lot of these guys here in the front of the field. As we see the number 92 machine of Dean Greer. Or excuse me, that's the 32 machine of John Hastings, excuse me. But Dwayne MacArthur still in third, trying to make his way around the track and keep his spot in third currently, and maybe even catch up to the guys leading in first and second, but that's going to take quite the amount of work, as he's got nearly a 4-second gap to Josh Robertson, and he's got Steve Thompson on his tail, as well as Mike Schrader and another playoff driver, Andrew Hess, in the 54, who all want to be where he's currently at. So he's going to have to push that car just a little bit harder than everyone else, but he's got clean air in front of him, so he's not having to worry about too much right now. But as I said, that lap traffic gets involved. It can make things a little bit interesting, having to work your way around them. Well, most of these guys that are being lapped are very, very good at getting out of the guys who are in the lead lap, getting out of their way, making sure that they're having the race that they want to have. Looking at Steve Thompson here, who's just behind Dwayne MacArthur. We have Mike Schrader and Andrew Hess, all kind of single file here. You also have Patrick Milligan in that number 18 machine involved in this line here of drivers, as we see the number 4 and the 54 go side by side there for just a moment, but Mike Schrader in that number 4 machine, he's able to stick it out in front of Andrew Hess of the 54. Mike Schrader is on a mission, though, to catch up to the 67 of Steve Thompson here, as he's trying to get onto that bumper and possibly make a pass here. And we've seen him dip down to that low line a couple times here already. We might see it happen here again. He's getting closer and closer to that 67 machine. And there we see it, Dean Greer in that number 92 machine, dipping down low, getting out of the way for drivers. But Mike Schrader on a mission, trying to get around the 67 of Steve Thompson, but Steve is not having it. But Andrew Hess also on a mission here as well. As we see lap traffic there again, Andrew Hess making his way to the top of the track rather quickly to get out of the way of lap traffic there. That's, I believe that was the 66 of Dot Hoskins. We're on lap 96 of 300. This race has been an excellent one so far. I don't want to jinx it too early. Don't want anyone to have a bad race, so I won't go too much into it, but we've seen a lot of excellent racing here. These guys have done an excellent job of putting on a good green flag race here today. And it only continues to get better and better as we see a lot of competition all over the track. We're still seeing Mike Schrader and Andrew Hess duke it out for that fifth position, as well as try and catch up to the 67, who's currently 4th. And Patrick Milligan as well, slowly working his way into the mix of that. But as you can see here on your screen now, Josh Robertson in that number 23 machine. He is nowhere near the number 11 of Tom Ogle right now. And that just goes to show how much space is between these drivers right now. As Josh has nearly a 5-second gap to close before he's near the number 11 machine of Tom Ogle. Looking further back in the field here, looking at Gary Kipfer in the number 68 machine. He's going to be currently 10th with Greg McDaniel in front of him in that number 30 machine, and Dakota Pischke in that number 1 Monster Energy machine. All three of these drivers playoff contendees as well. Dakota Pischke making a pass here on the number 68 of Gary Kipfer, doing an excellent job taking that high line, getting around Gary Kipfer, who I don't think expected that one to happen. Not sure what happened there for Gary, but Gary's going to keep it going, keep grooving, as Dakota Pischke is now going to make his way onto the bumper of the number 30 machine of Greg McDaniel. Now these guys have also started to close the gap with I would say the top 5 drivers here. From Dakota Pischke's position, he's currently 10th, to the number 4 machine of Mike Schrader, who is 5th right now. It's about a 3-second gap. So these guys are starting to close it between the front of the field, and I think we'll start to see a lot of these guys start to be in a little bit, I would say, tighter packs, if you will. But I could be wrong in that. That might not happen. These guys might prove me wrong. And push these cars just a little bit harder than I might expect, as these guys take it around the track for lap 109. Dakota Pischke still on a mission to get behind the number 30 of Greg McDaniel to get on his bumper and make a pass. He's almost successful in doing that there, but he just doesn't quite have the speed just yet. He might be able to pull it off here in a lap or two if he's able to hold the line that he has, and he's able to there. Now he's going to be 9th. Taking that low line, trying to stick it out in front of Greg McDaniel. And man, I gotta say, Dakota Pischke, a lot of speed in that number 1 machine. Looking very solid out there. Preferring that middle to high line, as most of these drivers have been doing. It's a very, very solid line here at Bristol, as I've said already. You're able to maintain speed going through there and stay very consistent. It's a very good spot to be here, especially if you're someone like Dakota, as well as a handful of other drivers here who want to be in at least in a top 10 position for points and be able to get themselves into the next round of the playoffs. We're going to hop on board here with Steve Thompson in the number 67 machine, who's currently 4th. He has Andrew Hess and Patrick Milligan on his tail. I want to listen to what these guys are doing here out in front and just kind of look and see what these guys are seeing. Just listen to what they're hearing. A lot of solid racing there from Steve Thompson. You hear how aggressive they are on the throttle, coming out of these turns into the straightaways, and then quickly backing off, going into the turns. Making it easier, I should say, to hold their lines and stay consistent here at Bristol, which can be a very tricky track for some drivers, but these guys have done a very excellent job here tonight. I think only 2 cautions have come out onto the field, lap 122 of 300, just about to that halfway mark. Steve Thompson still in 4th, with Patrick Milligan now closing in behind him. Steve Thompson is trying to make his way around the 67 machine, taking that low line. Not quite enough speed as he actually goes up high and bumps into the wall there just slightly. That can't be good for your tires there. But Patrick Milligan still trying to take that low line and get around Steve Thompson. But it looks like, actually, if we look a little bit closer at Patrick Milligan's, yeah, it looks like he's got a little bit of front end damage there to the right side as he went up into that wall there. Don't think it's going to cause too much of an issue for him there, but the slightest things can make odd changes to how your car feels and drives. That can sometimes throw you through a loop, but it's not too major. I don't think Patrick Milligan is going to have much of an issue dealing with that here today, as Steve Thompson is still trying to fight it out and hold that number 4 spot from Patrick Milligan, as we have now Andrew Hess closing in close behind them as well, catching up. And we also have Dwayne MacArthur now in the sights. So we have drivers going 3 wide here. Just a little bit, just for a second. A little bit of action there that I'm sure was a tense moment for some of these drivers going into a turn 3 wide. That can never be a good thing, especially here at Bristol Motor Speedway, where there's not a whole lot of room, especially when you're going 3 wide. Patrick Milligan was successful in taking over Steve Thompson for that number 4 spot. He's going to be currently 4th now, on the tail of Dwayne MacArthur, who's currently 3rd in that 97 machine. Patrick Milligan showing that he's got a very fast machine here today, closing in very quickly to Dwayne MacArthur, wanting to prefer to take that low line to make that pass, but that 28 machine there is in his way. He's not able to dip down there and try and make that pass here. He's got lap traffic here once again. Definitely not ideal if you're Patrick Milligan trying to make these passes here. Lap 132 of 300. We're getting closer and closer to our expected pit window as well. We're going to start to see very quickly, I would say at least in the next 30 to 40 laps, we'll start to see some drivers enter pit road here. It might change, might be earlier. We'll just have to wait and see. But still, Patrick Milligan trying to make his way back up to Dwayne MacArthur now, who's actually gained a little bit of a gap, as we still have lap traffic taking that low line where Patrick has seemed to prefer to make these passes at. But still doing a good job trying to catch up to Dwayne MacArthur. And Steve Thompson, who unfortunately was not able to hold that number 4 spot from Patrick Milligan. He's going to have Andrew Hess on his tail. Another playoff driver here that we want to see potentially make it into the next round here. Andrew's going to try and get onto the bumper here of Steve Thompson, make a pass, taking that low line. Steve takes that middle line. Looks like Andrew's got a little bit more clear path of a racetrack than we saw for Patrick Milligan. Doesn't have quite as many lap cars here in front of him, so he's able to gain a little bit more speed, take that low line, and try and get around Steve Thompson. I think he'll be able to pull it off here in the next couple laps. We're taking a look back here, checking back with Dakota Pischke in the number 1 machine. He's still 9th place, but quickly working his way up to the number 21 machine of Joe Brown, who's currently 8th, and trying to make his way to the front of the field as well. Joe Brown doesn't have a whole lot of lead lap competition in front of him at the moment. Mike Schrader in the number 4 machine is his only driver that he's trying to catch up with and give a little pressure to. But Dakota Pischke here on a mission to try and get himself out into the front as quickly as he possibly can as we enter lap 142. He's still got quite a bit of time left. He can make something happen here in our expected pit road. Our pit lap is going to be closing in here quite soon. Given this is only a half-mile track, these laps tick off quite quickly. Before you know it, it'll be lap 100. It'll be lap 160, and all you have to do is blink. But Joe Brown doing a great job of just staying clean and staying consistent, not making a whole lot of mistakes here today. But he's going to have to start to worry about Dakota Pischke as he's closed that gap pretty quickly here. But Joe Brown also almost on the bumper of Mike Schrader of that number 4 machine, who's currently 7th. And it looks like Joe Brown here is going to try and potentially make a pass here, but Dakota Pischke taking that middle line around Joe Brown there. A lot of speed there. Joe Brown seemed to just let Dakota Pischke pass there. But Dakota now is going to be 8th place, closing in behind Mike Schrader in that number 4 machine, that Busch Light sponsored machine there. Dakota pushing that car as hard as he possibly can. Josh Robertson as well in the mix, but he's going to be in the lead lap. These drivers here are all down 1 from Tom Ogle and Josh Robertson. We're the only 2 lead lap drivers at the moment. Checking in with Tom Ogle here in 1st place. A whole lot of lap traffic that he's working around right now. He's got Steve Thompson in 5th that he's trying to get around. Almost trying to take that high line there, it seems, to get around him, but that's a little sketchy there. Probably wouldn't want to do that here, especially when you're leading the race. As long as he's been leading the race as well. Tom Ogle doing a great job here, being a dominating force for today's race. Josh Robertson, that number 23 machine, trying his best to catch up to Tom Ogle. He's actually closed the gap just a little bit. Josh has got about a 6-second gap to Tom Ogle. And it's closing ever so slightly. It's kind of rubber banding at the moment, where he's getting a little bit farther and then he's a little bit closer. But Josh Robertson is doing a great job just pushing that machine as hard as he can. Hopefully he'll be able to find himself at least putting pressure on Tom Ogle before the end of the race, and be able to put a little pressure on Tom and make something happen here. So we have Dwayne MacArthur still in 3rd place in that number 97 machine. Patrick Milligan in 4th in the number 18 machine. Dwayne doesn't have quite as large of a gap as he did before. Josh Robertson is about a 6-second lead ahead of Dwayne MacArthur right now. But Dwayne does not have a whole lot of support around him to help him just go a little bit faster into these straights. But there's not a whole lot of room to do that here at Bristol anyway. There's a whole lot of different factors for these drivers that are finding themselves with a gap with the rest of the field. While you have a lot of time to work with and a lot of laps to try and recover that, it can be quite difficult sometimes. Especially as you have a lot of talented drivers here. It can be a lot of drivers might be doing the same thing, trying to push these cars as hard as they can. They might have different strategies for how they want to play this race out. So we have enter lap 160 now. A little bit of a battle there from Mike Schrader. Or rather, it looks like Dwayne MacArthur was getting around Mike Schrader. But we have a bundle of cars here. Some in the lead lap, some not. Everyone trying to figure out who to let by, who they need to block and defend. But Mike Schrader trying his best to stick it out for his number 8 spot. Dropping down low there for some reason. Entering into pit road, I see. So, and there's our expected pit window. Some of these drivers also did not go into pit road as when everyone else did. As I said, some went a little bit later. Some stayed out a little bit longer. But Tom Ogle here still out on track. A smart play to make here. You don't want to pit too early, as that can be a disadvantage for yourself if you are leading the rest of the field here. Checking back with Josh Robertson in the 23, who has also not pitted yet. If I was Josh, I would be waiting for Tom to make his pit road entry and try and either match it or go out, maybe even enter in just a little bit later, but not too much later. Timing is going to be absolutely key here for all these drivers in the lead lap that want to maintain their spot and maintain their lead. As the majority of the rest of the field has already went into pit road and got a fresh set of good years and some fuel. We only have a handful of drivers that are waiting to enter into pit road. Tom Ogle, Josh Robertson, Dwayne MacArthur, Patrick Milligan, Andrew Hess, Steve Thompson, Dakota Pischke, Chris Scales, Randy Bott, all drivers that have still not gone into pit road yet. Their last pit lap was around either lap 40 or, in Chris Scales' case, lap 47. So these guys still on a little bit older of tires, but they're still holding it out, trying to make what they can happen. It looked like their Josh Robertson was about to enter into pit road, but I was mistaken. Lap 175 here of 300 at Bristol Motor Speedway. An excellent race here so far for the Metro Ford Cup Series with the Old Bastards Racing League. Looking at the number 18 machine of Patrick Milligan. Working his way around lap traffic as well. He's got a couple cars around him. He's got to work his way around as Dwayne MacArthur has entered into pit road as well. That's going to be our number 3 driver, or our third place driver, or rather was third place. Patrick Milligan is now going to be leading the field third. Still waiting on the rest of our lead lap drivers to enter into pit road here. Patrick Milligan actually is entering into pit road now as well. Randy Bott has entered as well. Dwayne MacArthur back out on track. He's going to be currently 7th, and now he's going to have potentially the opportunity here to lead the field for a little bit once the lead lap drivers have entered pit road. Here as Tom Ogle enters into pit road now to get a fresh set of good years and some fuel. Andrew Hess as well entering into pit road as well. Josh Robertson, Dakota Pischke. And as I say that, Dakota Pischke actually is entering pit road as well. Josh Robertson is going to be our only driver still on their old set of tires. So it looks like he slows down and enters pit road himself. Now Dwayne MacArthur up to third now. Got a little bit of lap traffic from Mike Schrader in the number 4 machine, who's currently 9th. But as I said, he might be able to lead a couple laps here, but Tom Ogle already back out on track. Still leading first. He's got nearly a 6-second gap from Dwayne MacArthur, who's now 2nd. So Dwayne MacArthur, he pitted a little bit earlier than the rest of the front of the field here. He pitted at lap 175. He's going to have slightly older tires than Tom Ogle, but not by much. It's a very marginal amount, and it won't matter too much here for Dwayne MacArthur, as he's just going to have to try and catch up to Tom, who has been a very, very fast driver here today. A very strong force to reckon with, as Tom is working his way through a ton of lap traffic here. Drivers all over the place trying to find their lines and figure out where they are and who they need to let around. Number 28 machine dropping down low there very quickly. Looks like heading into pit road. Dwayne MacArthur still trying his best to catch up to Tom Ogle. He's going to have clean air in front of him. Looks like he's actually clipping the wall there coming out of that turn. Might have just been that angle there. Let's see if we can see that happen here once again. Nope. Alright. Maybe that was just a little bit of a slip up on Dwayne's part. Not too sure what happened there, but Dwayne's still holding it out, doing a great job keeping this race green, along with everyone else. An excellent race here today. Lap 189 out of 300. taking a look back just a little bit further in the back of the field here. In third place, Josh Robertson trying to do his best to catch up to either Dwayne MacArthur or Tom Ogle. Either one at this point. He's only got about a 4-second gap to Dwayne MacArthur. That's not closing anytime soon, it seems. Unless Dwayne MacArthur here makes a few mistakes or gets into lap traffic that he has to work around, and Josh Robertson is able to take that into, able to take advantage of that and close that gap just a little bit more. As we see here, Josh Robertson make his way around lap traffic as well. He's doing an absolutely excellent job here. You have the number 18 machine as well, Patrick Milligan, trying to close that gap to Josh Robertson as well. He's going to have clean air in front of him, but he's going to have a little bit of lap traffic down low from that number 68 machine of Gary Kipfer. Let's ride on board real quick with Patrick Milligan and see what he's doing there in that number 18 machine. And that was Patrick Milligan in that number 18 machine. A very solid performer here today. He's going to be currently 4th. He's going to be where he started at the beginning of this race. He's not lost or gained any positions from where he's at right now. But I know that he dropped down in the field just a little bit and had to work his way back up to the front of the field here. But now he's going to have to close that gap to the number 23 machine of Josh Robinson. He's going to have about just over a 2-second gap to close before he's on the bumper of that number 23 machine. Looking back in 5th place, Joe Brown in the number 21 machine. Having a little bit of lap traffic here from the number 108 machine. That's going to be Clint Reist. But otherwise, Joe doesn't have a whole lot of competition around him that he's going to have to worry about. Staying green and staying clean is the name of the game here. Being consistent. And when you're not someone who's having to worry about getting into the next round of the playoffs, you can kind of just have fun with it and just do your best. And being in 5th place currently in lap 202 of 300, I'd be pretty happy if I was Joe Brown right now, as he's going to have Andrew Hess on his bumper trying to make his way around. And Andrew Hess pulls it off. Almost textbook. And Andrew Hess is going to be now 5th place. Another playoff driver that we're looking out for. And another fast driver here as well. We haven't seen him too much out in the front of the field, but he's definitely been pushing that 54 machine to try and make that happen. Because he's not going to have a whole lot of lead lap competition around him. He's able to just push that car as hard as he can, using that clean air. Try and close these gaps here with the front of the field, but Patrick Milligan in the number 18, who's currently 4th, is going to have about a 7.5-second gap to close, to make that happen here. Or there's still 94 laps left to go here in this race. Anything can happen. It's very possible that Andrew Hess here can definitely close that and make something happen. But Tom Ogle here, checking in with him, our man of the hour, leading the field with an absolutely crushing lead. Dwayne MacArthur, who's in 2nd place, has over a 7-second gap now to Tom Ogle. So Tom's feeling very comfortable here tonight, or here today. A very clean and consistent driver. I don't know what Tom found in that number 11 machine. Maybe he put a little bit of White Claw in the fuel mixture before today's race. I'm not sure, but Tom Ogle's definitely found the juice. He's doing a very excellent job here today. I'm just used to saying tonight, I suppose. Dwayne MacArthur back in second. The number 97 machine making his way around lap traffic as well. You can actually see Josh Robertson in the 23 machine here, slowly closing in to second place to try and put some pressure there on Dwayne MacArthur. And he's very close to doing that, just under a second of a gap to close. And Josh Robertson here has been a very fast driver. I think he'll be able to pull it off here in the next few laps if he's able to maintain the speed that he's got. Just a little bit of lap traffic here and there, not too much to worry about though. Dwayne MacArthur having to deal with the same thing, so that's also going to slow him down potentially. As we see Dwayne and Josh now going side by side, making this pass around lap traffic here, who's taking that low line. Josh just absolutely pushing that car. He's almost on that bumper now of Dwayne MacArthur. So we're watching this battle here for second place. Josh Robertson able to make the pass on that low line around Dwayne MacArthur. He's now going to be second place at lap 217 of 300 here at Bristol Speedway for the Metro Ford Cup Series. And Josh is now going to be on a mission to close the gap with Tom Ogle. But Tom is another very fast driver here today, so it'll be interesting to see if Josh can pull it off. He's got time, but not a lot. So we'll see if he's able to pull this off and make it happen. Very exciting to see that happen for Josh Robertson here. Unfortunate to see for Dwayne MacArthur, as he's now going to be down one position from where he started. He's still third. You can't complain too much about that. Looking at the wide view here of our track, Dwayne MacArthur in that red 97 machine with Josh Robertson in front, and the 23 white and blue. Doing a very good job. Dwayne MacArthur trying his hardest to close that gap here with Josh, but just doesn't quite have enough speed, but is holding that line very consistently. And as you can see, lap traffic here in front of them starting to come into play once again. So one of these drivers is going to have to slow down a little bit to try and work their way around. And it looks like Josh Robertson here is going to be the man to have to do that. As you can see, Dwayne MacArthur now has significantly closed that gap with Josh. Lap traffic dipping down low, let these guys go around. But that did not stop Dwayne from getting behind Josh Robertson here. Is now putting pressure on him just ever so slightly. And Patrick Milligan, who's also close on their tail as well, but he's still about 5.5 seconds down from where Dwayne MacArthur is. In lap 226, there's not a whole lot of time left to make any massive gains. So in the case of Patrick Milligan, who's still in the lead lap as well, might I add, you know, you're either hoping for drivers in front of you to mess up, make a mistake, and not, well, you're hoping for drivers to do something to allow you to catch up to them and get around them. Or you're hoping for cautions, which can sometimes be a good thing, depending on where you are in the race. But majority of the time, it can definitely change the pace of the race. It can change the outcome of the race, especially being how late it is in this race right now. Lap 229, we've gone green this whole time so far. Since our last caution early on in the race. It's very hard to say what could happen after a restart of a caution this late in the race. It could definitely change the mindset of some drivers, I think. Cautions breed cautions, and definitely don't want to see that happen here this late in the race. But as drivers start to see themselves kind of in their own little grooves here and there, lap traffic doing a very good job of staying out of the way and taking that low line when they need to let the faster drivers pass. I have a hard time believing that we're going to see any cautions come out that are going to be game changing, but you never know. These races are always unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. I definitely can't see into the future, so it's hard to say what these guys are going to do, but right now it's an excellent race that we're seeing and a lot of great driving. Looking here also at Andrew Hess in the number 54 machine. He's going to be currently 5th, up 6 positions from where he started today. Another fast driver here on the track, trying to make his way up into the front of the field. And also looking at times, seeing what these drivers are doing time-wise. We're starting to see a lot of drivers set quite slower lap times than we were at the start of the race, and that's normal, given tire wear, fuel change, and all things considered. Right now, Tom Ogle, his last lap was a 16.4. We're on board with Andrew Hess right now. His last lap was a 16.68. And from where we started, drivers were putting down times of 15, between the ballpark of 15.4 to 15.5, 6, 7-ish, depending on where you're looking in the field. So it's very interesting to see how much these drivers have actually slowed down during the course of this race, and how that affects pace and where these drivers find themselves throughout the race here, especially towards the end, as we get closer and closer to that white and checkered flag. Looking back here with Tom Ogle in the number 11 machine, who's still just absolutely dominating the field, leading with an impressive gap of 11.5 seconds from Josh Robertson in second place currently. Let's hop on board with Tom Ogle as he makes his way around lap traffic and just listen to how hard he's pushing this car. Tom Ogle, an absolutely impressive driver here today, making his way through lap traffic, just trying to keep the pace that he's got going. But honestly, it's going to be hard to compete with the pace that Tom is setting here today. As we see drivers all over the track here in various different positions, Doing a very good job just trying to stay out of the way of Tom. And looking further back at Josh Robertson in the 23 machine. He's got Dwayne MacArthur still on his tail. Doing a great job so far. This entire race has been an excellent one to watch. And all of these guys have been doing a great job of staying green. Very consistent drivers throughout the field here. Some drivers not having the race I'd probably want to have here tonight. But overall, I think a lot of these guys are going to be very happy with today's race at Bristol, which can be a very interesting track to race at, and with as many drivers that we have here today, it can sometimes be a caution fest, but today has been the opposite of that, and it's always great to see. And I think these drivers are definitely loving it right now as we enter lap 249 of 300 with only 51 laps left to go here at Bristol. Before we get too close to the end here, I'd like to give another thank you and a shout out to Metro Ford for putting this race on and bringing myself on to broadcast for you guys today. And to Old Bastards Racing League for having this league and putting on these races. It's always great watching these guys race week in and week out. A lot of great talent and amazing racers. But Josh Robertson still in second place, having a little bit of lap traffic, as I've said multiple times already today. Dwayne MacArthur is going to be trying his best to catch up to Josh Robertson. It doesn't seem like he's got quite enough speed to make it work. I'm not sure if Dwayne just is reserving his tires for the very, very end, or if he just doesn't have enough juice in that car to make things happen for him a little bit easier. But looking back here at Patrick Milligan, who's currently fourth, he has Tom Ogle on his side now, as he actually is going to get lapped once again, setting the field even further behind. From Patrick Milligan's position, he's down 16 seconds. 17 seconds now, actually, from where Tom Ogle is. As we also see Dale Copeland in the number 100 machine making his way around the track on, I believe, some fresher tires. Well, that's not the focus here today. We're looking at the front of the field. We're looking for playoff drivers, trying to finish where they can, the best place they can, and make it into the next round of the playoffs. But so far, Tom Ogle, Josh Robertson, Dwayne MacArthur, Patrick Milligan, Andrew Hess, Dakota Pischke, Greg McDaniel, Gary Kipfer, Steve Thompson, just to name a few drivers that are playoff drivers that are looking to get into the next round. I think two of them I named were already verified. Yes, so Josh Robertson, the number 23, and the number 97 of Dwayne MacArthur, those drivers are both already locked in for next round. So we'll already see those guys for the playoff, or contending for the playoffs in next round. But But everyone else with the yellow banner in their window is contending for a spot in the next round of the playoffs. And Tom Ogle, I think today, has secured that spot for himself, as well as a handful of other drivers here doing an excellent job. Patrick Milligan, Andrew Hess, Dakota Pischke, and everyone else that I've named already. All of these guys here doing just an excellent job of racing here at Bristol Speedway. Taking a big old look here at the field. We're actually seeing Steve Thompson here in that number 67 machine make his way around the rest of the field here. Looks like he's trying to gain back some lost time, but he's going to need a lot more than the 30 or so laps that we have left. This is Tom Ogle, Josh Robertson, Dwayne MacArthur, first, second, and third, respectively. And Josh Robertson and Dwayne MacArthur still duking it out. Well, not necessarily duking it out, but Josh Robertson is still leading Dwayne MacArthur around the track as Dwayne tries either to catch up or is just comfortable where he's at, and he's saving tires, saving fuels, and making sure that he makes it all the way to the end. Either way, a smart play. Josh Robertson here, I think he's going to be thinking the same exact thing. There's no point to try and push these cars any harder now. With only 30 laps left to go, it's really hard to make that judgment and say, you know, what can I realistically do here in these final laps? Am I going to be able to push this car to be able to catch up to Tom Ogle, who's currently first, who has a 14.5 second gap? Or am I just going to stick with what I got? Just stay green, stay clean, and stay consistent. I don't think there's really much reason to try and be too aggressive right now, unless you're perhaps Dwayne MacArthur and want to be in second place, but to each their own. And right now I think everyone else in the field is just thinking the same thing of just stay green and stay clean. There's no reason to throw caution out now. We're this close to the end of the race. It'd be very unfortunate to see that happen as we ride on board here with Andrew Hess, the number 54 machine. Andrew doesn't have a lot of competition around him. A lot of clean air in front of him as well, so he's able to just maintain his pace. He's up 6 positions from where he started. He's now in 5th. So he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable where he's at. 25 laps left to go here at Bristol. What an excellent race that we've had here today. As we get closer and closer to that white flag. Looking at Tom Ogle here out in front. So we're seeing drivers. The interesting thing is you have lap drivers that are going quite a little bit faster than everyone else, but it's also due that some of these guys pitted a little bit later as well and grabbed another fresh set of tires. Not because they had to. Maybe they did. And gives them a little bit more of a time advantage, but not by much. Very marginal. Tom Ogle is still setting down times of his last lap around. It was a 16.76. So it's not exactly the fastest. And Josh Robertson set down a 16.95. So drivers are all kind of around the same pace, if you will, but everyone on these slightly newer tires are going to have just a little bit faster times, but not much. Not by much. Dwayne MacArthur here in second place. He actually got around Josh Robertson. We missed it. But Dwayne MacArthur is going to be second place now. He's going to be looking to secure that spot and maintain it with 18 laps left to go. And he's growing a gap from Josh Robertson, nearly 2 seconds of a gap from that number 23 machine, who's currently going to be third now. So Dwayne MacArthur must have pulled something out and made something happen there while we weren't looking, but it's a good thing for Dwayne MacArthur. Now he's going to be leading in second place and just going to be comfortable with it. As I said, there's no reason to get too aggressive now. With only 16 laps left to go, with the gaps that we have around the field, there's no sense in throwing the race out the window, if you will. $14 laps left to go here. Josh Robertson in third place with Patrick Milligan in fourth place, who has the leader of Tom Ogle in front of him currently, which has probably got to be a weird feeling being in fourth place. But nonetheless, Patrick Milligan doing a great job considering the lap traffic around him. Kind of using the cars around him to his advantage for a little bit of draft support. Maintain a good amount of speed going through these turns. 12 laps left to go. I think right now these guys are going to be pretty solidified in their positions and where they are. I don't think we're going to see any major shakeups happen with any positions here anytime soon. But overall, a lot of impressive driving from everyone here today. With only 10 laps left to go here. It's been an excellent race here at Bristol. A lot of excitement. A lot of just great raw racing talent that we've seen here today. And a long green flag run, which is, I'd say, is almost a rarity here at Bristol. It's hard to get all of these racers to be as clean as possible for as long as this race is. But these guys did it. They did a great job. 7 laps left to go. Tom Ogle leading the field with Dwayne MacArthur in second place and Josh Robertson following in third. I think these guys are going to be pretty comfortable right now, just trying to stick with it. Dwayne MacArthur especially, he's got a little bit of lap traffic around him too. I'm sure he's going to be hoping for these guys to just stick with it just a little bit longer. Let's not get too creative. Only 5 laps left to go here. So we watch our leader here in the wide angle view. And like I said, there's not going to be a whole lot of shakeups here in these final few laps like I was hoping for earlier. as I was kind of hoping for drivers to get a little bit closer towards the end of the race and have a little bit of a duke out, but that's racing for you. It doesn't always happen the way that you predict it to. And that's just the way racing is, and that's what makes it an interesting sport and a fun one. As we watch Tom Ogle take his final lap around the track here. An excellent race here from Tom. A crushing performance, to say the least. As he crosses the finish line, Dwayne MacArthur making his way around the final turn here. As well as Josh Robertson. That's going to wrap up our race here today at Bristol Motor Speedway. The rest of the drivers get themselves across the checkered line. We're going to take a look at our race results here once we get those ready to go. Once we have them ready, drivers are getting lined up for their post-race picture here. All right. Tom Ogle taking a celebratory spin around the track here. An absolutely well-deserved one as well. So we're still getting our results ready for you guys here. All right, well, it seems like okay. All right, well, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. So, Tom Ogle is going to be your race leader for today. Took first place, Dwayne MacArthur second, Josh Robertson third, Patrick Milligan in fourth, Andrew Hess in fifth, Steve Thompson in sixth, Joe Brown in seventh, Greg McDaniel in eighth, Dakota Pischke in ninth, Gary Kipfer in 10th, Brian Lindsay in 11th, Clint Reist in 12th, Dale Copeland in 13th, Brian Lynch in 14th, Bruce Pearson in 15th, Henry Besaw in 16th, Randy Bott in 17th, Roger Runyon Sr. in 18th, John Hastings in 19th, Dodd Hoskins in 20th, Todd Bosworth in 21st, Mike Schrader in 22nd, Dean Greer 23rd, Robert Crisco 24th, Chris Scales in 25th, Michael Everhart 26th, Jess Vaught 27th, Kelly Kuhl in 28th, and last but not least, Brian Glass in 29th. Whew. All right, now let's get our post-race interviews. First up, we are going to have Josh Robertson in third. Josh, sir, can you read me?
How's it going, Mason? I got a copy.
Josh, man, excellent performance from that 23 machine here tonight. You know, you had a lot of competition from Dwayne MacArthur. It almost seemed like you had it pretty solidified there in second place. And then Dwayne MacArthur somehow managed to get around you. What happened there?
Yeah, Dwayne and I always run each other really well, so when he got up to me, there was no need to fight it that late in the run. I had made a mistake on that green flag pit stop and lost a bunch of time, but some good racing though.
Absolutely, Josh. You did a heck of a job performing here today. Absolutely impressive racing. Before I let you go, Josh, is there anyone watching that you'd like to give a shout out to, a thank you?
Just my teammates here, Tom and Andrew did a good job talking to each other. Of course, Tom drove away, so nobody had anything for him.
Well, Josh, thank you for coming up here and chatting with me here today. Excellent racing. I look forward to next week and watching you race again.
Appreciate you doing the broadcast. See you guys next week.
Absolutely, Josh. All right, that was Josh Robertson in the 23 machine. Up next, we are going to have Dwayne MacArthur, who finished it out second today. Dwayne, sir, can you read me?
Hey, Mason, how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Dwayne. Dwayne, you had an excellent race here today. I was kind of watching you throughout the broadcast, and it almost seemed like you were playing a very strategic game of tire saving just a little bit, just to maintain your position that you had. You were third for a little while. You were following behind Josh Robertson in that 23 machine, and you were able to get around him and finish second. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, you nailed it there. Was saving pretty hard and running. I thought at a good pace, and I really thought I'd pull back to Tom and Josh there, but I think I was running the wrong lane. So about halfway through the race, I had to change. Actually, when Josh passed me, I just went to school a little bit and learned a bit, and I was able to get back by him. But it was definitely the tale of two races. Ran a little too conservatively, and then maybe even a little too hard at the end, but paid off for sure.
Yeah, Dwayne, especially after that green flag pit stop there that you made, it seemed to work out quite in your favor pretty well. I think you were, I believe it was ninth place or eighth place, somewhere in there, and you were able to work your way up the field quite quickly. I checked on you again, and you were fourth place, and then here you are in second place. An absolutely impressive performance from you here today, Dwayne. What's that kind of giving you going forward into next week?
Uh, a little bit of confidence, absolutely. Had a good first round here. Just glad I was able to finish all three races, score pretty well, and I think not pick up any incident points either. So a little bit of leeway when we get to the restrictor plate later on in the playoffs. So looking forward to the next round. These guys are fast, so gotta do everything I can to keep up with them.
Fast they are indeed, Dwayne. You guys were putting on an excellent race here today. Before I let you go, Dwayne, is there anyone watching that you'd like to give a shout out to, a thank you before I let you go?
Oh yeah, all sorts of people. My sponsor, REG Customs, all these guys that run here in the league. I know Bristol, throwing their laps at Bristol is a little bit tough, and we all got on edge a little bit. But love racing here. Love that these guys come out. Steve, Patrick, um, for sponsoring this series, and just everybody listening or watching at home. And thanks to you, covering off for James. And that's about it.
Awesome, Dwayne. Well, thank you for coming up here and talking with me tonight. Excellent race. Good luck in next week's race.
You bet, Mason. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Have a good one, Dwayne.
You too.
All right, that was Dwayne MacArthur in the number 97 machine. And last but not least, Tom Mogul, our pole setter for tonight in the number 11 machine. Tom, sir, can you read me?
Yeah, I got you.
Tom, you put on an absolutely dominating performance here tonight. Did you throw some White Claw in the car before today's race, or what'd you do here?
Usually Sundays I don't. It's a little early for any of that, but I like this track and I can get in a rhythm here, and I kind of run a different line than other guys, so you can get through lap traffic a little bit better. I just like this track. I ran here pretty good all week, and less pit stops, so less chance for me to make a dumb mistake in speed or something.
Yeah, Tom, this track can be a little tricky for some drivers, but you definitely put on a clinic here today. It was very impressive watching you. Your restarts were absolutely solid every single time. You didn't really have a whole lot of competition to worry about. You had a lot of lap traffic to deal with. Uh, but overall, you just absolutely impressive performance, Tom. Now, what is that giving you going into next week? Now that you've potentially locked yourself in a playoff spot, what's that giving you going forward?
I sometimes struggle on the tri-ovals, the mile and a half. So, I mean, I'm going to need a little bit of a cushion on those other guys to make it, because they're way better at those tracks, saving tires and stuff than I am at those places. I've kind of run good at shorter tracks.
And you did do that very well here tonight, Tom. These short track races can be very tricky, but very entertaining and very rewarding. So, very excellent job, Tom. Is there anyone watching, anyone that you would like to give a shout out to before I let you go here today?
Just thanks to the rest of Team Miata. We share information during the race, tire wear and stuff. My wife for letting me come in the basement and do this. And you guys for putting on the race, and you for standing in tonight. We really appreciate it. You guys do a great job broadcasting.
Thank you, Tom. I very much appreciate it. Well, Tom, I'm going to let you go celebrate. Enjoy your very, very solid race here today, man. You definitely earned it, and I look forward to seeing you perform in the rest of the series.
Good. Thank you. Go Brownies. See you next week.
All right, everyone. That was Tom Ogle in the number 11 machine. What an excellent race that we had here today. A lot of excellent racing from every single driver here. Before I let everyone go, I would like to once again thank Metro Ford for putting on this race and Old Bastard Racing League for bringing me on today and broadcasting today's event in place of James, as he's on his little vacation. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you today's action in 1080p 60 frames a second with Team Goon Squad. I hope you all enjoyed today's race, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.